Hello everyone. I welcome you in the Genius Academy online video lectures. In these video lectures, we are going to revise the various chapters from the subjects of physics, chemistry and mathematics for you. Okay. In this video lecture, I am going to start the physics for you. In the physics, the chapter that we are going to deal with, that chapter is rotational motion. Okay, rotation motion is a very important chapter of 12th standard physics, and many times many questions comes from this chapter in the various competitive exams. Okay, so it is a very important chapter for those students who are preparing the forthcoming exams. Okay, now since it is a very first video lecture that you are watching, okay, so let me tell you how we are going to deal with this chapter in this lecture. In this video lectures, I am going to revise the theory of this chapter, the formulas, the shortcut, the tips and tricks, the techniques which are required to solve the MCQs, the entire theory and all shortcut formulas I am going to revise in the 30 minutes lectures. If one lecture may not be sufficient, we can do it in multiple lectures, but we are going to revise the entire theory and all shortcut tips and tricks I am going to tell you. And these tips will be very helpful in solving the MCQs from this chapter. Okay, so you have to focus on these points that we are going to discuss in the lecture. But before we start lecture, let me tell you, it is advisable that you first revise the theory from the textbook at least. When I am explaining here, I am expecting that you already know the basic theory of this chapter at least at the textbook level. So revise this chapter from textbook and then only you please watch the video. Okay, so let me start with important points of this chapter. Okay, so let's start with the very first point. Now, in the rotation motion, the first thing that you have to understand is that whenever a body performs rotation motion, let's say take an example that this is any particular rigid body and this body is performing a rotation motion. In the rotation motion, there is a fixed axis around which the body rotates. Let's say this is a fixed axis around which the body rotates this way. Okay, when the body rotates, this body is made up of large number of particles. Let's say this is one particular particle of mass m1 and this another particular particle of mass m2, and this way many particles are there. Distance of this particle from the axis is r1 and distance of this particle from axis is r2. This r1, r2, they are different from each other, they are not equal, as you can see in the diagram. So r1 and r2, this r distances are different for different particles. Okay, when the body rotates, these all particles, as you can see in the diagram, as these all particles revolve in a circular path. See the diagram, these all particles revolve in the circular path like this. When these particles continuously revolve in circular path, the angular velocity of all these particles, that is omega, the omega of all these particles is same. It's a very important point that a student should remember. When these particles revolve, these particles are having same omega, different r distances. Okay. Next, the velocity of this particle, linear velocity, if I talk. As you know, the linear velocity of this particle, v is given by omega times r. Since omega is same but r is different, hence v is also different for different particles. So all these particles are having different linear velocity but same angular velocity. Remember this point. Okay, and this also you know that if I take mass of the one particle m1 into r1 square, that means I am taking mass multiply with distance square plus m2 r2 square plus m3 r3 square and so on. This is a basic formula for moment of inertia. This is a formula for moment of inertia. Okay. Now, moment of inertia is in the short it is written as mi. Since you know the moment of inertia is a quantity that is very important in the rotation motion, the moment of inertia depends on two factors that a student should know. The moment of inertia depends on, first, it depends on axis of rotation of the body. Okay, to illustrate this point, just to explain this point, look at the diagram again. Okay, in this diagram you can see the axis of rotation. When body is revolving around this axis of rotation, let's say moment of inertia comes to be I1. Okay, now if we change the axis of rotation, let's suppose if I say the body starts rotating around this axis. Look at the new axis now. If the body now starts rotating around this particular axis, then what happens? The distance r will get changed. The r distances are going to get changed. So since r distance is going to change, the moment of inertia also get changed. So around this axis, moment of inertia will be I2. So remember one thing, as you change the axis of rotation, moment of inertia also changes. Second important point, the moment of inertia also depends on distribution of particles around the axis. It depends on distribution of particles around the axis. Okay, to understand this thing, just I'm giving you one simple diagram. Look at this diagram now. Let's say this is the axis of rotation and this is a particular body. Okay, now look at this particle. Let's say the mass of this particle is m and the distance from axis is r. Okay, now suppose if we stretch this body, let's say this body is stretched like this, then same particle m will go away from the axis, and as it goes away from the axis, the r distance will increase, and since r distance changes, moment of inertia will change. So when the particle is distributed away from the axis, the moment of inertia increases. Moment of inertia depends on distribution also. It also depends on axis of rotation. So these points you keep it in mind. Let's proceed to the next point. Okay, second point. Now let's start. As you already know that apart from rotation motion, there is one more type of motion which is known as translational motion. Okay, translation motion and rotation motion both are different from each other, but then also there is some sort of similarity between them. Okay, today we are going to discuss that which quantity of a translation motion is analogous to which quantity of rotation motion. For example, in the translation motion, whatever is the role of mass, wherever mass comes in the translation motion, that role is played by moment of inertia in the rotational motion. Okay. In the translation motion, whatever is the role of linear velocity v, that role is played by angular velocity in rotation motion, that is omega. In translation motion, whatever is the role of linear acceleration, the role of linear acceleration is here played by angular acceleration, which is denoted by alpha symbol. In translation motion, the kinetic energy of a body is given by the formula half mv square, whereas in the rotation motion, if the body is doing rotation motion, its kinetic energy is given by half I omega square. In translation motion, the body do have a linear momentum. Linear momentum is denoted by p symbol, and it is nothing but mass into velocity of the body. Okay, as you know, the linear momentum is given by mass into velocity, that is p equals to mv. The role of linear momentum is played by angular momentum in the rotation motion. Now, angular momentum is denoted by L symbol, and angular momentum is given by I into omega. You can compare both sides. P is equal to mv and L equal to I omega. If you see, the role of the P is played by L, role of M is played by I, and the role of V is played by omega. Okay, so keep it in mind. Next, the sixth point. In the translation motion, the role of force, whatever role the force plays, the similar role is played by here torque. in the rotation motion. So torque plays the same role. As you know, the force is given by mass times acceleration. Here torque is given by I times alpha. Okay, so remember that the quantity which is important in the translation motion, there is similar quantity in the rotation motion which plays the same role. Okay, so keep all these things in the mind. Clear? Okay, let me go to the next point now. Okay, so next important point is regarding the rolling. Let's discuss. As you know, the rolling is actually a type of a motion which is the combination of translational plus rotational. So rolling is a combination of translational as well as rotational. Okay, so if suppose we want to find the kinetic energy of a rolling body, in this kinetic energy, the translational kinetic energy is also present plus rotational kinetic energy is also present. Okay. When body is performing rolling, it has two types of kinetic energies, translational as well as rotational combinedly. Translational kinetic energy, as you already know, it is half mv square. Rotational kinetic energy is half I omega square. Okay. On solving this, as you know already, on solving this, we will get a kinetic energy of a rolling body. The kinetic energy of the rolling body is given by half mv square in the bracket 1 plus k square divided by r square, where k is the radius of gyration of the body. So remember, this is a formula for the kinetic energy of a rolling body. Okay. It's half mv square in the bracket 1 plus k square by r square. If you see in this formula, there's a term of k square by r square. This term is very important. A student should know how to directly find this term k square by r square. Okay, so here I'm telling you the method to find the k square by r square. Let's say let's take one object which is solid sphere. Let's say a solid sphere is continuously rolling on a surface. Okay, for solid sphere, as you know, the moment of inertia is given by 2 by 5 mr square. Here the coefficient is 2 by 5, correct? The moment of inertia can be written as mk square, where k is the radius of gyration. So both sides mm gets cancelled. Just pass the r square from right hand side to left hand side. You will get k square by r square value as 2 by 5. It is for solid sphere. Similarly, we can find for other objects also. For hollow sphere, the value of k square by r square comes to be 2 by 3. Okay. For the object like ring, the value of k square by r square comes to be 1. Okay. You can find these values by the same way as I found for solid sphere. The way I found for solid sphere, you can do it for ring and other objects. For disk and as well as for cylinder. See, disk and cylinder are both having same formulas. For disk as well as for cylinder, the value of k square by r square is 1 by 2. Okay. These are the different values. Now if you compare all these four objects, that is solid sphere, hollow sphere, ring and as well as disk, if you compare, the value of k square by r square is maximum for the ring. Ring is having the maximum value of k square by r square, and the value of k square by r square is minimum for the solid sphere. Okay. See, for solid sphere it is 2 by 5. 2 by 5 is actually equal to 0.4. So 0.4 is a minimum value among all these present values. So remember, the value of k square by r square is highest for the ring and it is least for the solid sphere. So I hope you got this point. Let's go to the next point. Okay, let's go to the fourth point now. Fourth point is also related to the rolling only, but rolling on an inclined plane. Okay, let's suppose there is an inclined plane like this. Okay, it's an inclined plane, and in this inclined plane, the angle of inclination, this is known as angle of inclination, it is theta. Okay, on this inclined plane, there is one round object kept on the top of this inclined plane. The height of this inclined plane is h, and this object is released from here. It is released from the top surface. So this sphere will start rolling down. If the friction is present on this inclined plane, then only rolling is possible. When this body will reach to the bottom of an inclined plane, when it reaches to the bottom, okay, the velocity of this body when it reaches to the bottom, the velocity after reaching to the bottom, the velocity is given by under root of 2gh divided by 1 plus k square by r square. Okay, so here also k square by r square is coming. This is a formula for velocity of a body when it reaches to the bottom. As this body comes down, the velocity of this body increases. So if suppose we need to find acceleration of this body, acceleration is given by g sine theta divided by 1 plus k square by r square. It's a formula for acceleration. Next, the time that this body takes to come down, that is a time of descent. The time that this body takes to come down, that time is given by 1 by sine theta under root of 2h by g in the bracket 1 plus k square by r square. Okay. Now if you look at the last formula, that is time of descent. Okay, if you see, time is directly proportional to root of 1 plus k square by r square. Correct? This point is very simple. So the body for which the value of k square by r square is more, that body will take more time to come down. As I already told you, the value of k square by r square is maximum for the ring, and the value of k square by r square is minimum for the solid sphere. Okay, hence time of descent is also maximum for the ring, and time of descent is minimum for the solid sphere. It's a very important point that a student should keep it in mind. Remember one simple thing, that ring takes more time to come down as compared to the solid sphere. Solid sphere take a less time to come down. Okay, so keep this point in mind. Okay, let's go to the next important point. Okay, so next point I'm discussing, as you already know that when a body is performing rolling motion, it is having a translational kinetic energy, also it is having a rotational kinetic energy. Both energies it is having. Sometimes questions comes that we need to find out that how much percent of translational kinetic energy is present in the rolling body. Means when the body rolling, it is having a translational kinetic energy as well as it is having a rotational kinetic energy. But out of total kinetic energy that this rolling body has, how much translational kinetic energy has its own percentage? Means how much percent translation is present. So if you want to find the percentage of translational kinetic energy, okay, then the simple formula is you take a translational kinetic energy divided by total kinetic energy of a rolling body multiply by 100. So this formula will give you the value of translational kinetic energy present in the rolling body. Now if I solve it in the numerator, it's a translational kinetic energy which is half mv square. Denominator contain rolling kinetic energy which is half mv square in the bracket 1 plus k square by r square into the 100. So this gets cancelled. So we are having a formula 1 upon 1 plus k square by r square into 100. Okay, we can solve this further as well, but I suggest you keep this thing in mind. No need to solve it further. Now how to apply this formula that I am telling you. For example, if suppose we are having a ring, and in case of ring we want to find out that how much percent energy is in the form of translational. we have to find out the percentage of translational kinetic energy. So I'm using this formula, that it is 1 upon 1 plus k square by r square into 100. Now as you know, for the ring, the value of k square by r square is 1, which is maximum value. So just put k square by r square as 1. So answer that you will get will be 100 by 2, that is 50%. So in case of a ring, 50% energy is translational. Whatever energy ring is having while rolling, its 50% is translational and the remaining 50% is rotational. This way we can find out for any object, provided you know the value of k square by r square for that object. Okay, so remember how to apply this formula, and this is a main important formula that you can keep it in mind. Okay, let's go to the next point now. Okay, now I'm going to the new topic, which is angular momentum. Extremely important topic. Angular momentum is denoted by L symbol. Now whenever you want to find out the angular momentum of a body or of a particle, anything, angular momentum is always found out about a fixed point. Means about a one particular fixed point. If any particular fixed point is given, related to that fixed point we can find angular momentum. If fixed point is not there, we cannot find angular momentum of the body. Okay, so first of all I am telling you how to find angular momentum L of a particle. Okay, for this just look at this diagram that I am drawing. Imagine that it is a particle of mass m, and this particle is moving in this direction, let's say with a velocity v. Okay, it is moving in this direction with velocity v. Okay, so if you just multiply m into v, you will get a linear momentum of this particle, which is p. Okay, now we want to find but angular momentum of the particle. This I got linear momentum, but let's say we want to find angular momentum. So as I told you already, for angular momentum we need one fixed point. Let's say here is origin, that is O. We want to find out angular momentum of the particle about origin, that is about O. This thing we need to find. Okay, so fixed point I gave you, the particle I gave you. Okay, now look at this. The angular momentum of the particle is defined as r bar cross p bar, r cross p. Okay, where r is the distance of this particle from the fixed point. See, I'm repeating this. R bar cross p bar is a formula for angular momentum of the particle, where r bar is the distance of this particle from p point. Okay, now if I solve this formula a little bit, it will be rp sine theta. It is a magnitude of L. Theta is the angle between r and p. Now you can see the direction of the velocity. This dotted line is actually the direction of velocity, and as you already know that whatever is the direction of the velocity, that same is the direction of p. So we can say this is the direction of we can say this is a direction of p also. This is a direction of the p. Okay, if I take this distance, look at the distance r. If I take this distance r such that r is perpendicular over the p, always take a perpendicular distance r. Look at the diagram, r is perpendicular to the p. If you take this particular r, then angle between r and p is 90 degrees. Since r is perpendicular to the p, look at the diagram, then definitely theta is 90 degree. Put sine 90, L will be equal to rp. So remember, you can avoid the sine theta term. You can make the formula very simple, rp, provided r must be taken perpendicular on the p. Only take that r which is perpendicular on the p. Okay, now as you know that p can be written as mv, so hence angular momentum of a particle is given by mvr. Remember this formula. Okay, this is a formula to calculate angular momentum of a particle. Okay, to make it more clear, just one simple example I am giving here in front of you. Look at this example that I am giving on the board. Okay, suppose this is x-axis this is y-axis, its origin, okay, and the particle is moving on this line. The particle is moving on this line. The equation of this line is y equals to 3. The equation of this line is y equals to 3. Particle is, let's say here, the mass of the particle is 1 kilogram and it is moving this way with a velocity of, let's say, 2 meter per second. Okay, so this is the equation. This is a diagram. Now suppose we want to find out angular momentum of this particle about origin. Okay, I suggest you can pause the video and try this question on your own. If even after trying, if you are not getting the answer, then I will explain it to you. Okay, now if you got the answer is 6. Okay, now how to deal with this question? We have to find angular momentum of the particle. So everybody knows a formula that angular momentum is given by rp, or you can say mvr. But r is a problem. Don't think that if the particle is over here, I should take this as a r. If you take this as a r, this r is not perpendicular on the momentum. R is not perpendicular. So a student should not take this r. A student should take directly this r. This should be the r. And as you know, the body is moving on the line y coordinate equal to 3. Y equal to 3. That means this r will be 3. So this r is 3, velocity is 2, and the mass is 1. So 1 into 2 into 3, which is 6. So hence the angular momentum of this particle about origin is 6. This way we can find angular momentum about the origin. Okay, let's go to the next point now. Okay, so here now we learned how to find angular momentum of a particle. But if suppose particle is not there, we are having a completely rotating body. It's not a single particle, but we are having an entire rotating body. Then angular momentum of entire rotating body is given by I times omega. As you already know this formula, the angular momentum of a rotating body is given by I omega, where I is the moment of inertia of that body and omega is the angular speed at which it is revolving. Okay, so I hope you know this point already. Now I'm going further. Next important point that a student should know is law of conservation of angular momentum. Law of conservation of angular momentum. Okay, first of all I am telling you this law and then I will give you its various examples. Let's say it's any rotating body. This body is rotating around this particular axis. Okay, we can have a one body, we can have a two bodies also. Okay, if you are having a two bodies together, then two bodies together can be called as a system. Let's say we are having any one particular system. The angular momentum of the system I am denoting by L system. Let's say L is the angular momentum of the system, which is given by I of the system into omega of the system. Okay, now the law of conservation of angular momentum says that on this system, if we do not apply any external torque, if external torque acting on the system is 0, okay, the system is not experiencing any torque from outside. So if external torque acting on the system is 0, then angular momentum of the system, that is L of the system remain conserved. The angular momentum of the system remains constant or conserved. So this is a law of conservation of angular momentum. Remember, if the external torque acting on a system is 0, its angular momentum also remain conserved. Okay, now some examples of this law I am just telling you here. These examples a student should always remember. First example is ballet dancing. There can be questions on ballet dancing. Second example is if there are two rotating discs are there which are rotating separately, and then these discs are coupled. These discs are suddenly coupled. Means coupled in the sense, coupled means they are joined together with each other. Okay. These examples which I am giving you, they are very important, and the numericals are there on these examples. Third example is when earth suddenly shrink or expand while rotating around its own axis. Then in this situation also the conservation of momentum can be applied. And the next one more example, when a particle or a small drop of wax suddenly falls on the rotating disc. Okay, these are some very common examples on which numericals can be based during conservation of angular momentum problems. Okay, so I hope you got this lecture. I tried to cover some theory of this chapter. Okay, and we will meet in the next lecture. Till then, bye bye. Take care of yourself and do study well at your home. Bye bye.